Yamaha Snowmobile's secondary pulley, you want your belt to be sitting just above the top of the pulley when it's in there. So if you look at this right now, you can see I am just about flush with the top of that pulley. This is a belt that has less miles on it. If I take the belt that was on my machine and I put it in there, you can see it's just below the pulley edge, right? So that really changes the gearing of your snowmobile. And you can change that ride height to get it perfect. And to change it, these 3 bolts on the back of your secondary are actually tightening in and pushing out against the spring, the secondary sheaves. If you look in there, you can see the crack between the 2 sheaves. What I'm going to do here is just loosen these bolts off because they are pushing that sheave out, and you're going to see the difference. I'll just pause here and then show you after they're loose. So now I've loosened those 3 bolts, and you can see here the bolts are loose, so there's no tension on them. When you look inside now, you can see the crack is non-existent. The 2 sheaves halves are touching. So where before my old belt was down inside, now if I put this belt in, you can see it's actually riding above the pulley. So if you want really good throttle response and low speed and good operation at engagement RPM, you want to get that close to perfect so that it's just a 0.5 millimeter or thereabouts above the top of the pulley. And Yamaha sells shims. They're washers, tiny washers, and they sell different thicknesses. These are 0.5 millimeter shims. I had tried some 1 millimeter and it was raising it up too high. So I'm going to take these bolts out and put the 0.5 millimeter shim on, and then you're going to see where my belt rides. So there you see I've got the shim on the bolt. I'm going to put it back in the hole here and do that with all 3. Okay, so I have those shims in. This is my old belt, and you can see it's pretty well just flush now with the top. It was down in a bit, and I say the old belt, the belt that was on the machine. Now here's the belt that has less miles, and yes, it's actually just a hair above now. So this one has basically risen up, and so has the other. So those shims, again, all they do is limit how far this bolt can go in, limiting how far it can push the pulleys apart when they're at rest. So they're now literally 0.5 millimeter closer together than they were before I put the shims. It's that simple to adjust your belt ride height, and this pulley comes off with a 14 millimeter wrench. Put your brake on, put on the 14 millimeter wrench, and make note of where your shims are. Because of the shims for the pulley needs to be able to move slightly, just a hair, but it also has to be shimmed to be in alignment with the primary. Anyway, that's simple to adjust your ride height. I'll put it back on, we'll see how it looks. So this is the bolt that holds the pulley in place. There's a sleeve that slides inside the pulley, and then these shims go over top. And those shims will also go on the back side over here as needed to get your pulley offset correct. And that's very important. Your machine will not upshift and operate at correct RPM if you don't have that pulley offset done correctly. So again, you can do this without even taking the sides off the machine. I just pulled this back a bit. The pulley slides back on the shaft. You rotate it to get it to go over the spline. And then I'm going to throw this in there and spin it in by hand. And then a 14 millimeter nut, and torque it to 45 foot-pounds. And to torque that, before you can torque it, you have to have the brake applied so that the shaft doesn't turn. So I got the torque wrench set at 45 foot-pounds. I put it on there, and while I'm pulling it, I'm going to hold the brake so the shaft doesn't turn. There we go. 45 foot-pounds, it's back in place. Now, you'll notice this is normal. That free play in the shaft is totally normal. And that allows the clutch to, or the secondary, to kind of find its place. So that is normal to have that play. As long as your offsets are correct, and it's shimmed correctly, you're good to go. Anyway, now when I put the belt on, the tension is going to be tighter because the pulleys aren't pushed far apart as they were before. So at idle and rest, there'll be tighter belt tension, less deflection. Okay, so now I have the belt in place. I've got to get it down in the pulleys. I have to get the pulleys to open. So I have this trusty strap wrench again around the out exposed portion of the inner sheave, and I'm going to rock it back and forth and just put downward pressure on the belt, and you can probably see there how much the pulleys opened up. So now I have plenty of room to slip the belt over the outside. Actually, take my brake off because I had the brake locked. Now I'm just going to slide the belt over and roll it a bit. And there we go. Belt is on. There we go. Simple as that. Anyway, it's a real nice feature to be able to adjust your belt. This one at the moment feels flush. It'll probably ride a little bit higher once the machine's been turned and the engine's rolled over. But should be just about perfect with those shims. Yamaha makes different thicknesses of shims. They're kind of priced ridiculous. I think they're $5 or $6 a shim. If you can find washers the right size, that's all you need, right size and thickness. But anyway, if you find this useful, please like and subscribe. Consider sharing the video.